Hi there and happy 2018. This is Professor Alan Adams from Dean College, and I'm picking up again on my series of micro-credentials for Microsoft Excel, more commonly known as badging. And if you're watching this video, which is in the video number 3, badge number 3 series, that means that you've successfully completed badges 1 and 2, respectively beginner and intermediate, and for that I congratulate you. And the acceptance of the program has been great. So now we're resuming again. Today happens to be New Year's Day 2018, so I wish you all a wonderful 2018. Have a great New Year's celebration as well. Okay, we're going to talk about a very, very powerful tool today. I'm going to introduce you to the pivot table. In the past, we've learned that Microsoft Excel manages numbers, math operations, functions, and text very nicely and easily in 2- and even 3-dimensional matrices. And we also learned how to use objects such as graphs, pictures, and tables. But a reminder to those of you who think that Excel is just about math, it's about far more than that. It is about data management, okay? It does math beautifully, quickly and easily and powerfully, but it manages data as well. Very, very large amounts of data that a business, a school, any institution can accumulate, okay? In the first 6 months of my own startup company, I myself had to account for millions of pieces of data, of components, and all of the dates and times and materials and lots that went along with being a biomedical manufacturer. And imagine what that volume must have been like by the time we were 10 years old. Okay? So we found that Excel was a beautiful tool for that purpose, and we even had a saying in our company that Excel is your best friend. Okay? And this is one of the reasons that Excel combines so beautifully with the other 2 components, the big 3 of Microsoft as we call them, Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, okay? And once again, we started the series because most people don't have as much of an aversion to Word and PowerPoint as they do to Excel. Part of that is because some of us are mathophobes and we think that Excel is about math, okay? No, it does do math very beautifully for you, but it manages data, and that's where the real power of Excel comes in. So managing your data in Excel allows you to interface with the other 2 components, Word and PowerPoint, much more effectively. Word to use that data to make reports for management, and PowerPoint, of course, to present them. Okay? So your ability to use all 3 as, let's call it, one unit in harmony is a very powerful strength for you as a student and also as a potential employee in the future. All right, remember, your employers are going to look for this not just as a nice little extra, but fluency in these 3 Microsoft components as a unified expectation. They now want it when you're coming in, not just saying it's a nice extra little thing to have. Okay, data management. We've tried a few things already. We've gotten our feet wet with things like taking data and sorting it, managing it, even using tabular forms. Okay, now a table is something we've already learned, but a table is not the same as today's subject, let me highlight it here for you, as a pivot table. Okay, so number 1, remember, Excel is about more than math, okay, and more than creating nice presentations and clever objects, but it's in taking all of that data and using it in a managed fashion to produce meaningful information for management so that they can do what they do best, and that is make decisions. Okay? And large organizations, even small organizations, have tremendous amounts of data. You have to be able to control it and draw upon it, and you have to do so quickly. Now remember, in business, everything is about doing things fast and efficiently because time is indeed money. And yet we can never sacrifice quality and accuracy for the sake of speed, okay? So the better you are, the more fluent you are with Excel, the more effective a job you will do for your managers. Okay, so sorting, filtering, and things like that are powerful, okay? But Excel can do it even better, especially as the volume increases. And the pivot table that we're going to get into today is a tool to draw very quickly on large volumes of data. Okay, so before I demonstrate, I'm going to give you a quick little demonstration here today. It may take me more than one video lesson to do that, by the way. But here's what a pivot table will allow you to do. It's going to, and by the way, I hate to keep digressing, but it's important for me to stress this. This is not just a tool that is used in accounting and finance. Okay, again, a common misconception. Excel and your ability to use it in harmony with Word and PowerPoint is also valuable in other business functions like operations. Here at Dean College, we include it in operations management. Human resources, to control all of the information about every individual person, for example, employed and enrolled as a student here at Dean College. Also design, business planning, many other corporate functions. So once again, it's not limited just to the world of finance and accounting. And by the way, even if you want to become an entrepreneur, and I hope that there's an entrepreneurial venture in your future, you're going to find that Excel is very valuable. Okay, I don't get a commission for selling Excel, but I just want to emphasize why this video course is so important to you, not just as a student, but also as a business person. All right, what are some of the advantages of using a pivot table? Similar to a table, the function that you've already learned about, updates to existing information are far easier than just updating a simple matrix like you see here and changing everything that draws upon that data. It'd be nice if you just can add more data or change data and have anything related to that data automatically updated. It compresses amounts of data far more easily, and I'll try to demonstrate that to you because what I'm about to ask you to do is something you already could do, but you'd have to do it in multiple steps, okay? And please remember, even if you get the same result, number one, it takes more time to do multiple steps. If it takes you 2 steps to do something that you could otherwise do in 1, you've just cost your employer some money. Secondly, every time you do an additional step, it does increase the odds that you might make a mistake. And even if you do go back and correct the mistake before you give it to management, it's still more time. So again, we want to be efficient, and the pivot table lets you do that. A pivot table can also link you to other outside sources to control your data in a more sophisticated fashion. So you can do the beginnings here with a pivot table in Excel, and then export it to something we call an SQL, which stands for Structured Query Language. And structured query languages, if you really want me to get geeky here for a moment, is something that has been recognized by 2 very important standards institutions. The American National Standards Institute, which is called ANSI for short, and the ISO, which you may already know from your business education, is the Worldwide International Standards Organization that pretty much sets standards on how things have to be done. All right. What else? You have more data, more control rather, over how data is organized, and you can create multiple report formats, okay? You can Google advantages of using pivot tables, and you can find about 10 or maybe 15 other strong advantages to defend your mastery of the pivot table. Is there a catch? Is there a disadvantage? Isn't there always? But it's a tiny one. It takes a little time to learn. A pivot table is powerful, and the more powerful something is, the longer it takes to master, but the investment is not a great one, okay? The amount of time it took me to learn about pivot tables was very, very short, and the benefit was massive, including my ability to show you, demonstrate them here for you, okay? So I want to put together a simple demonstration. You see it right up here on one of our matrices. This is data that we used based on sales from an earlier video chapter. But I made a couple of changes, and it's very important I emphasize this to you, okay? First of all, I changed the zip code to pot. We're going to call that a pot number, okay? See that where it says amount? I'm going to change that to read, instead of amount dollars, just amount. I want to keep my titles very simple, my captions, my headings, very simple. I'll show you why in a moment. And I added a responsible salesperson. I could type responsible salesperson up there, but again, I'm looking for tightness. I want to keep my titles very simple and neat while making sure they're meaningful. So I said, well, let's take my responsible salesperson and just call her or him a seller. And I listed their names right here. I've borrowed a couple of names from our staff and faculty, as you can see. All right, so I have a series of sales invoices. They're all in numeric invoice order, as you can see. I've listed the customer to whom that invoice related, and the pot that they were buying. You'll notice that Concord, for example, buys a couple of different pots from us. We want to be able to understand how many of those pots were sold, okay? The dollar amount is right here. This invoice for Concord for pot 2013, invoice number 3024, was worth $15,000. Okay? Now, by the way, I want to stress to you, because I'm making this an accelerated demonstration, that you might say to yourself, well, is that the amount of parts, the quantity of pots that I sold, or is it the dollars? For sake of expediency, speed here, ladies and gentlemen, those are dollars, okay? And finally, the responsible sales representative for Concord who made that sale is, in this case, Barry, in this case, Reese, in this case, Jones. You might say, well, why does Concord have 3 different reps? Well, it could be because we have rotating sellers, rotating responsibility, rotating parts. Maybe one person is responsible for certain parts, okay? But I wanted some variety here, again, for purposes of demonstration. Now, I want to stress to you that this is not a table, okay? That is not a table. What I want to do is I want to turn it into a pivot table. Okay, now here's my demonstration that I've put together for you, friends. Let's assume, now remember, you've got how many? You've got maybe about 15 different lines here, I think. This could be 15,000. That's where the pivot table's real gifts come to you. Managing this, you may say, is it worth it? I'll be able to show you that it is indeed worth it. Okay, now, first, your boss sticks her head around the corner in your office and says, I need to see the total amounts of dollars by salesperson. So I need you to break that down for me. Summarize it really, really quickly. And I need that report quickly. I need that stat, as they say. So we've already learned that you can maybe say, okay, by salesperson, what we'll do is we'll highlight, now this is stuff you already know, you will highlight the salesperson, and I come up here to sort and filter at the far right side of my ribbon, and I click on sort and filter. Okay, I'm going to do a custom sort. I'm going to expand, oh hold on, I've forgotten I have to expand my selection, don't I? Okay, I've forgotten my own lessons, I ask you to bear with me. And I'm going to highlight the entire range of data. This is not a table. I'm going to leave my headings out, okay? Now this is the old-fashioned way. I'm not using a pivot table now. It's just that I'm panicking. I don't know how to use a pivot table and the boss is breathing down my neck. I'm going to do a custom sort. I'm going to sort not by invoice. I'm going to sort, because she asked me to do this, by seller, okay? And I'm going to keep A to Z and do it alphabetically, and I say, okay, all right, very good. So now we already know that, okay, now I can stop breathing easier. Have I solved the boss's problem? Not yet, okay? I've got to summarize. She wants a summary. I can't hand her this. She wants to know totals. So on the ribbon, I know I can click on auto sum, and I can highlight the amounts I want summed, place the result right there. Oh, I'm doing it. 41,900 for Barry, okay? I do it again, and I'm going to come over here and highlight everything for Jones, and 53,400. If you're really looking at me very carefully, did you just see me make a mistake? I'm in a panic, and the more panicked we are, the more likely we are to make a mistake. What I did is I grabbed one of Barry's numbers, and I put the line there for Jones when it's going to be missing that one. Again, can I get it done the old-fashioned way with everything we've learned so far? Yeah. Let's find a faster way to do it. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo all this data, and I'm going to take a couple of steps back, and I'm going to unsort all the data. That's the original data I had. Okay? Now, remember, this is not in a table. Now, here's the new and improved way that we are going to do it. Okay? Instead, I want to do this in one simple step. A couple of different clicks. All right? But really, it's not all that many steps. First, I want to use a pivot table. Okay? I'm going to highlight all of that data. Now, how do I create a pivot table? Look way up here. Click in the green bar at the top on the tab that says Insert. And hey, look at the one at the far left in the ribbon. It says Pivot Table. That's the treasure right there. I'm going to single click on that. Okay. Now, this drop-down says Create Pivot Table. I've already selected a range. Okay. Sheet 1. This is sheet 1 that we're on right here. Remember, that's our sheet. Way down at the lower left, it tells you what sheet you're on. And I'm telling it B13, yeah, that's right there, including the heading, all the way down to the far bottom left, F30. That's all of my data, including the headings, okay? Some of the other options, let's ignore them for now. In a more advanced video, I'll get into them. Where do I place the pivot fields? I could click existing worksheet and it'll stick them somewhere else right on this same page. I don't like to do that. In fact, I don't think Excel does either, because they usually put the default choice where it makes more sense. I'm going to create a brand new worksheet. Now look way down here at the lower left, it says Sheet 1. We should see Sheet 2 appear there. All right, come up here and click on OK, Create Pivot Table. There it is. All right, you'll notice that we are on Sheet 2, okay? And this is our pivot table over here. This is an object. Now you will remember that when you have an object, it most times will create a ribbon tab, as you can see up here, Pivot Table Analysis, all its own. Now as long as you have your cursor within that pivot table, it's going to give you that ribbon. And look, it gives you this little drop down over here. You can take that to the far right if you want to, or you can float it around. You can put that little drop down wherever you like. But that's powerful. It's giving you all kinds of unusual, mysterious little cues over here. So let's look at how to use them. Because remember, we're supposed to be under pressure here to get the boss to report all of the dollars of sales summarized by salesperson. Maybe your boss wants to create a bonus plan based on how much each salesperson contributes. Whatever the reason. She wants the report and she wants it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say, well, what do I want to sort by? I want to sort by seller. I'm going to click on seller. Okay? All right. I'm going to make that pivot table a tiny bit bigger so it's easier for you to see. All right. And there you can see that it says count of seller. I want to know the amount by seller as well. All right. So I'm just going to pause for one moment here. Bear with me. I have to take one quick call. Okay, my apologies for that. Okay, resuming. So what we've done is we've clicked on amount and seller. Now let's make this look what the boss wants. Right now she's counted how many transactions there are and the sum of all the sales. Now that's not what the boss wants. What's the secret to moving this data around? It's all right down here. And there's a lot of power here, friends. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say count of seller. Okay. I'm going to click on that from values. I'm going to drag it over here to rows. And look what happens. I'm not interested in how many. Now notice this is a value zone way over here. The bottom right square it's for values. Okay. I'm not interested in counting the salespeople. So I moved seller from there, and let's just go back and show you what I did again. I left-clicked on count of seller and held down my button and dragged it over here to rows. That takes all my individual sellers, and instead of counting them, it lists them. It lists them in the rows. Okay? It lists Barry, it lists Jones, it lists Lyons, it lists Reese. Okay? Remember the number we saw a minute ago, 133,400. It summed all of those individuals' sales, and it also gave you a nice little grand total as well. All right? That is an extremely, extremely simple demonstration of what a pivot table can do. As soon as I click outside of that pivot table, then that extra little tab on my ribbon disappears and the drop-down disappears. Click back in the pivot table, and it reappears. The boss sticks her head back around the corner and says, "Do you have my numbers?" All you have to do is print this out, and you've given her exactly what she wants. Okay? All right. Very good. Now let's say that the boss says, oh, by the way, for my meeting, I love that report, but is there any way you can tell me each customer's breakdown too? Okay, how would we do that? Go back to your drop-down, ladies and gentlemen, and scroll up. Now look at this. I'm going to click on customer. Now look what just happened. Okay. Not only do we know how much Ms. Barry contributed in total, 41,900. Now look down. Of that 41,900, it breaks down by customer. She sold 26,500 to Concord, 8,600 to Ibex, and 6,800 to Ridgeway. Great. Now not only does the boss know how much Barry made for the company in total sales, but she also knows where those customer concentrations were as well. Okay, same with Jones. Mr. Jones, 46,600. What does that comprise? 20,200 for Abbott, 7,500 Concord, 99 for Ibex, 9,000 for Keen. There it is. The boss comes back and you've totally impressed her with how quickly you've managed to print this out and been able to turn on a dime for her. That's the basic rule about what a pivot table does. Is there a lot more power? We have only just started, okay? So I'm going to stop there, ladies and gentlemen, and I will resume with another video lecture very shortly. Thank you. Hang on.